standard games. So he's really becoming more of a complete package as the DreamHacks go on. In the top left, starting things off on Romanticide, we got ourselves Exxon's MaxPax.
And spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, currently his clan tag is Noob, which I find quite funny. It is MilkiCow. Whenever I see like players give themselves certain clan tags, or like, you know, you can give yourself a tag beforehand, but the fact that poor little MilkiCow here, you know, like it's not going so well for him here in group stages, giving himself the tag Noob, I'm just like, oh, MilkiCow, my heart goes out to you. Because actually, I hope that this game he can play pretty solid. Because, yeah, me and Rotterdam were super impressed by his play because he plays TVP and he aims for a stage of the game that most Terrans are super afraid of. But this young Russian, just no fear whatsoever.
That's eventually going to be channeled into something pretty great too, you know? Like, I actually feel much better for the Terrans who are kind of overboard and play very risky than the ones that that play awfully safe and very, like, you know, borderline scared. So I'm hoping that MilkiCow can at least keep the confidence even if he does not do well in DreamHack, you know, this season or a couple of last seasons. I just feel like it's an eventuality, you know? Like, it's a hard road to actually be the best player in StarCraft, so it can feel really demoralizing. Call yourself, you know, noob because you're in your second or third DreamHack and you aren't quite doing well. But I do think that you got to stop for a second and be like, I'm in DreamHack. You know, Europe is not an easy region, so to even get here through the qualifiers is actually a really big deal.
No, he's super good. I wouldn't be surprised if MaxPax on this map, by the way, goes for a 4-gate Blink Stalker build. Like, for some reason, I'm just kind of feeling it from him. That being said, he is getting an Adept here, and this will be his first one. Yeah, I'm feeling it. Even though MaxPax is super crazy, we've talked about him being cheesy and all that kind of stuff, he's also got the mechanics to super back it up. Like, super back it up, actually. Like, and that's what makes him so scary. Like, he can cannon rush you, and he can cannon rush with the best of them, but then he can also fall back on just pure being good at the game. And I said something about his play the other day. He plays Protoss in a way that it's just like, man, why don't other people do that? Like, it just looks so smart when he does it. And yeah, he's so difficult to play against because of, well, he brings the full Monty. He can do anything.
You know, initially he was punching far above his weight, yeah, because of his cheese, you know, but I think it, like, developmentally, it's just so nice, actually. He gets talked about because he makes this thing called the MaxPax, right? And, like, BCQD hypes him up. So you're kind of feeling good. You feel like, you know, your creativity is actually being rewarded here, where sometimes as you reach those higher levels of StarCraft, it can feel like it's not about creativity. It can feel like it's about building, memorizing build orders and whatnot. And then he actually starts to just improve beyond the cheese while still having that identity, so that, you know, he's going to be along the lines of an SOS who no one shakes a stick at, you know, regardless of his actual skill level. You're always going to be like, oh, SOS. Oh, okay, well, you got to watch out here. All right, like at any moment you could actually lose. And MaxPax kind of getting there in the European equivalent, I suppose. So you're right, he can absolutely back it up. And this Blink Stalker opener totally predicted it correctly. Does seem to be his favorite, especially on a map like Romanticide.
Yeah, I will say this about MaxPax, and this is something that I've personally figured out. So even though he has an array of strategies, he does very often tend to go for a particular strategy on a particular map in a particular matchup. So let's say there's 7 maps. If he has one build that's his favorite on each map in each matchup, it means that it makes his practice more. You know, you can try out a build on a certain map and be like, I feel this one's better on this, but maybe I can do a different strategy entirely on a different map kind of thing. So he's quite regimented with his craziness, which kind of makes him less crazy as a whole, but allows him to practice and get these builds down to a T. But so far, this game, especially with the Banshee opening, the Cloak Banshee, oh no. If they're spotted by those Stalkers, which, oh my god, they didn't chase them down. This could turn gnarly very quickly.
Yeah, this is not usually what Protoss players are expecting to be up against, you know? So many Terrans are doing a 1-1-1, or maybe like a, you know, into factory, then additional barracks. to go into an actual Banshee 1-1-1, that is a bit unorthodox. The Banshee is coming into the main right now, nothing to defend at all. The Observer, of course, going across the map. Now, Banshee might be available back at home, and I think it does actually have some time to use its cloak before the Observer gets here. There you go. But the tank wasn't in position, was what I was going to mention. A second tank pops out, is going to help. The Marines are being taken out, but the Observer's still not here.
I actually like this for MilkiCow so far. The third Nexus also hasn't started yet. MaxPax is totally getting taken by surprise here by this Banshee build, and MilkiCow, maybe he knew some tricks about MaxPax as well, that he can be a little predictable when it comes down to his choice of strategies on maps. That being said, this is still a super scary amount of Stalkers.
Yeah, exactly. I think a great way to put it is that, to your credit, yeah, you're right, but it's the volatility of MaxPax has turned into just being lethal, right? His lethality, I guess, is that the right way to say it? Is gone up. So usually a 4-gate is pretty scary, even if you think you're defending against it. But this is more than just defending against it, right? This is more than MilkiCow just being like, okay, he's going to do it, and I need to have my tanks in the right position. He actually turned it around and kind of went aggressive. So MaxPax is usually very lethal with such a build, does usually accrue enough damage, is forced to look back home and defend there first and foremost, which he didn't do that quickly. So MilkiCow is a worker lead right now. As you pointed out, that third Nexus was quite late, and he should be okay against the Stalkers to actually kind of push out soon. He's getting his third CC, he's getting his barracks. I guess his barracks production was a little bit delayed, but seems to be all right.
Yeah, like all things considered, I think MilkiCow's probably entered this game far better than a lot of people would have thought. And here, like, kind of foresees the Observer. Doesn't see it necessarily, but does get away with his Banshee. Has to be careful though, because MaxPax is on the hunt, but multiple fights going down at the same time here. MaxPax is aware of everything that's going on though, because that is a nicely placed Observer.
It was a bit late to help against the Banshee, but it is making up for it with intel. Lots of weak Marines, they're a bit tempting. So MaxPax does take the Scalpel for a little while also chasing down this Banshee that's top right that's still good, as well as continuing his Warp Prism harassment. 4 Stalkers one-shotting SCVs means that if you don't take this seriously, you can actually, the Pearls can get like 7-8 SCV kills. We've seen Parting do it after all. But so far, so good in the defense, and now MilkiCow even going to send out a single drop, hopefully unscouted. I think it was away from the Observer, and it looks like it's headed towards that natural.
MilkiCow, like, again, every time that I see him play in this matchup, he is always fighting tooth and nail, and you can see it. Like, he didn't go for some weird 2-base timing, or like, wouldn't mind drop into a 2-base timing. He's absolutely willing to play the game and play the player to some extent, and here, he's just fighting for everything, focus firing down units so he can get a few more kills. That drop wasn't super successful, obviously, but work count-wise, a Terran player at 62 versus 64, that isn't a bad position to be in.
Felt a little bit like a drop that some Terrans feel compelled to do, like if it's too much of a lull in TPP, they're like, well, I should probably, try and get something out there. But might have been better off just staying put and waiting for some type of push, because, dealing with one thing at a time is not really difficult for StarCraft players. It's when you combine it with a push or with the Banshee harassment that it can be deadly. Banshee's all been cleaned up at this point. MilkiCow is about ready for his first real push. A MaxPax, he's got shield batteries, he's got a Colossus. Just 2. Okay, he's going to go for a third one. And they're going to have their upgrades finished as well, so MilkiCow not going to find a lot of success with this, especially as he heads over to the third, not the fourth.
Turrets are in play for MilkiCow, just showing how defensive he's willing to go. And the Warp Prism does land a few Zealots over here to try and take things out. But MilkiCow, he's actually got a lead on the worker count, 71 to 64 now. Terran being ahead in workers is a crazy thing to behold. And MaxPax, he hasn't really gone up in workers that much. Like, he can definitely afford to be a bit greedier with this. And I think playing against MilkiCow, even though MilkiCow, you could look at this and just be like, yeah, this is some standard Terran play, right? Not a lot of Terrans play like this. So it definitely, and here, coming in and sniping this 4th base, even though not really much else was happening, that's definitely a lot of damage, actually.
His roaming around, I guess, just went unscouted for MaxPax. I was worried he would commit to the third and not find anything, but finding that 4th as it was finishing was perfect. He still has a bit of an escape path over to the left side, and he is going to get out with pretty much all of his units. MaxPax I actually wouldn't have hated necessarily if he had more vision. That's the thing. If he had more vision, I wouldn't have minded like a push out, but I think he's now become acutely aware that he doesn't have a lot of vision on the map. The warp prism and then the observer is now coming back away from just the rally point to maybe cover some of these pathways, because that is maybe one of the weaknesses. A single zealot's going to try and scout over to the right side and barely see the army. Oh no, it's not. They're going single file.
So MilkiCow is definitely sneaking across the map and taking a page out of Clem's book a little bit, right? Like the two armies, this is old school Polt-esque almost. He's going for 2-2 while this is going on, getting his ghost upgrades going, and yeah, we see while this attack's going on, that blue army in the bottom is going for that 4th base again. MilkiCow is actually putting up more than a fight here in game 1. Got the Viking in the bottom as well, taking out the warp prism while all this went on. MilkiCow! Wow.
He's getting things done, man, but I will say that maybe MaxPax is a little surprised here. That wasn't a bad supply from MaxPax to actually split, but instead he did move his entire army over to the right, so it was late to the left, and the 4th base gets canceled once again before it was actually killed. This is stuff that MaxPax's going to have to adjust to, and he could, because his supply is not bad. His upgrades are finishing up as well. Moving on to some disruptors to really finalize the army composition. But MilkiCow, he's the one that's maxed, grabbing a 4th as a planetary, and MaxPax is just the one responding all the time.
Yeah, this is not how MaxPax wants his games to go. I am a bit scared for this drop, though, because this could really slow things down for MilkiCow. Just kind of zip away with the medevacs a little bit. He's actually handling all of this very well. I know I sound like a bit of a MilkiCow fan, but a lot of the things that he's doing are very difficult, but also very difficult to manage. There's no F2 going on because all his units are where they're kind of meant to be, and he's now securing a 4th base, and he's taking a bit of an upgrade lead as well here.
Quite a big one, actually. His 2-2 finishes for MilkiCow. MaxPax starts his 2-2. So, you know, he can Chrono Boost to try and make up for it, which he is doing, but nonetheless, a substantial lead here for MilkiCow on the upgrades and the supply, and also just in the pacing of the game. He's already on his way to Liberator range, +2 ship weapons, and 4 times Liberators. Like, he is going to upgrade his composition significantly, and if MaxPax is still defending and responding, that's when Liberators can really become powerful, as if the Protoss doesn't stop them from sieging on their side of the map. Beautiful EMPs, take out those Archons easy peasy. Can't take on the Colossus, and that drop to the left is still being a pain. But it looks like MaxPax has finally gotten 4 bases, is looking to get that 5th. I'm just worried about these Liberators, man.
I'm worried about them too, because these Liberators, they are going to be +2, which means they'll 2-shot the Stalkers. With the Ghost, they will actually 1-shot them, given that you get rid of the shields first, and that's going to definitely bruise this army. This army, I don't know how it got here unnoticed, but wow, just goes to the Nexus again, and takes out the shield batteries as well, forces a recall. Hey, not bad at all. And this drop finds its way to the main. By the way, I love how MilkiCow is actually trading out this supply, because he's doing it kind of slowly and not super obviously. Okay, I don't like how he traded out this one, but he is transitioning it all to the Liberators. But this is a very scary army of MaxPax, and it feels like this is his time that he's just saying, okay, I'm going to attack you now.
I think this is really important for MaxPax, not just to finally get to say something in this conversation that is this game, but to actually start getting on top of the Liberators. If they suddenly appear and you're defending your 4th base and you get sieged up, it's really hard to break out of that unless you also have your Tempest, which we're nowhere near close to having. So you need to be on top of the Liberators, track them as they try to come across the map, or outmaneuver them if you are going to pressure. So this is where MaxPax would love to actually find an opening. Still dealing with the harassment back at home. It's really not that big of a deal. It is actually finally turned a little bit into MaxPax controlling the flow of the game and MilkiCow defending. I'm hoping he's not going to over-defend. I actually really like his pacing and his continued movement of his army, but now it's really slowed down for MilkiCow. He's just responding to MaxPax's moves.
Yeah, and this is where Liberators are a lot slower, right? Like, they cannot just maneuver around. Every time he backs him off, though, with the Liberators, that's where MilkiCow can be like, aha, okay, now I've got even more time. Look at this, by the way. Multiple Ghost Academies coming down. Like this, you gotta admit, this is some cool TVP that we're seeing from MilkiCow. Like, if he does kind of survive this onslaught from MaxPax, he actually would be in a really cool spot.
He absolutely would, but that is the trick here, surviving the onslaught. MaxPax is trying his hardest to outmaneuver these Liberators, and once or twice is getting some wiggle room, but not a whole lot. I mean, the sheer number of Liberators is going to be kind of, it's undeniable. You can't really break through if there's going to be 12 of them. Right now it's 7. That's a little more manageable, but MaxPax still not moving on to any additional technology. He's been on 5 bases for a while. He is finally getting maxed out. I would expect to see at least some attempt to start up a Stargate, but right now it's all about outmaneuvering the Terran.
Yeah, and it is hard to do. Like, I want MilkiCow to just set up a couple of Liberators at each spot kind of thing, because that's already enough of a deterrent to kind of stop the Protoss from just doing anything, but he's kind of sieging them all up in one spot, which I know then the problem is, what if the opponent just kind of leaps on you kind of thing, but I don't think MaxPax can really afford to do that.
Well, I mean, MilkiCow has been... I actually think that he's got a pretty solid setup. Tank, bunker, and Liberator. This push-in seems awfully deadly. MaxPax gets EMP'd and loses a Colossus, loses a chunk of his army. Really trying to fit that square through the round hole, and it's not really working yet. MilkiCow is comfortably on 5 bases yet still, and actually has additional command centers, so I might even see him sacrifice some SCVs.
That fight went way worse for MaxPax than the supply suggests, because he remaxed on a lot of Stalkers, like, pretty instantly. Oh, big disruptor hits, but man, these armies, like, standing in the liberation zones, these Liberators soon +3.
Those are nasty. Of course, the nastiest time is when they're at +2, but +3,
yes.
Even more damage to units that don't get 3-shot. It's a good composition, and MaxPax is still trying to go for, like, the control way of playing around it. It can be very effective. You can still control the map, take all the bases, eventually just find an opening, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th time. But if the Terran really is playing well enough to defend, and you make another mistake like that last battle, their counterattack's going to be brutal if you don't have some type of form of anti-air that's more reliable than Stalkers. But at least we got some DTs coming in, killing the command center by the looks of it, but still not really opening up any pathways.
MilkiCow is very fast to pull, and surround is PF most importantly, and now nukes coming out on the field as well. MaxPax, I don't know how he saw that so quickly, by the way. He was just like, yeah, red dot, oh, okay, it's not close. I guess that's how he saw it immediately. Oh, disruptors, big blood splashes going down. Oh, this is getting to the stage where it's so hard as a Terran to try and hold all this off.
His Liberators were actually being, not really used very well, so unintentionally there's an opening. The Liberators now respond, and it looks like there will just be sheer numbers, right, work out. So MaxPax is going to have to back away, but that is exactly what MaxPax wanted to have happen, a distraction somewhere and then an opening somewhere else. He's going to continue trying to do that, which does mean he needs a strong economy. He needs to avoid the nukes. He needs to avoid any harassment, as he is, he's actually trading out quite a lot of army, quite expensive armies as well. So far getting some decent disruptor shots, but the Liberator is still reigning supreme.
Yeah, I love the Liberators on the far right base for MilkiCow, because DTs aren't going to mess with that. And this army, like, I haven't seen any sort of transition beyond, like, just ground for MaxPax, right? Decentish splits for MilkiCow, and he's got a bit of a supply lead here, but that squad of DTs, he has to be careful about it, but it does seem that he is on top of where it is, actually.
He's been tracking these DTs pretty well. The fast SCV repair, and then a Liberator to help out, and then he EMP'd him once, but the DT blink actually used on top of the army. The Stalkers blink past the liberation zones. Oh my god, all the Liberators! They're completely vulnerable. The bio was responding to the DTs and the charge lots. All of the Liberators got taken out. He's got 4, but they're protecting bases. Oh my goodness. Oh. Nice move there from MaxPax, who gave away a lot of his own army to do so, but hopefully his economy carries him through.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap, right? Definitely wasn't cheap. And MilkiCow, even though he's got those nukes and he's got a few ready, I do believe, he's so under this pressure from MaxPax that it's hard to get anything going. And I guess that's what MaxPax is going for, right? Like, the best defense is good offense, even though it's very, very cliche.
It's what works a lot of the time for Protosses, but I'm worried these... they're not actually weak enough. MaxPax is not finding the weaknesses, at least long enough to actually take advantage. It seems like MilkiCow, even when he is a little out of position or taking a somewhat bad fight or a disruptor to the face, is just remaxing so easily. DTs in the main are, surprisingly annoying, a long way to go back and deal with them. But if the Liberator counts back up and it's already back up to 8, then you just set them up. And the Soccer's got to find that beautiful position once again to actually do some damage. Okay. Now the Soccer's going to find this bio without the Liberators. Not really gonna find an opening, though.
I'm just looking at the supply. Like, MilkiCow, he's just been 200 supply, and he plays this so weird. He plays this like a Zerg playing Terran, Like, you're just trying to last until the late game to get somewhere, but what is it that you want to go for, MilkiCow? Because right now, you're on 6 bases. Like, you managed to squeeze another base into the top right here amidst all of this. Like, but he hasn't really gone on the attack since, like, minute 8, pretty much.
I think he's really hoping that there's going to be a truly terrible fight for MaxPax, and then he can feel confident enough to go across the map. But as long as MaxPax is showing all these units, MilkiCow doesn't feel comfortable moving out to it. He is going to lose the planetary despite his best attempts to save it with their repair, and that is a position that he might not actually get back anytime soon. If MaxPax is on it, he's going to get a cancel command center as well. It's going to be hard for MilkiCow to get another expansion.
It certainly is. MaxPax just staying on this Stalker Disruptor comp with a lot of DTs just doing side damage, and as long as MaxPax doesn't take a truly bad fight, which some of these aren't trading the best for him, I don't know. I don't see MilkiCow getting out of this situation. He just feels so almost kind of his own doing.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's that. The pacing was so well done when he was dropping and then transitioning into Liberators that would have been the strongest moment to actually try and make a push happen. But that's when MaxPax actually broke free and started to control the narrative, which he just hasn't let go of it, really. Even after a couple of fights and maybe a little low in the economy, he has really exploded on the map, taken all the bases, 88 workers. He can replace a lot of these losses. But if he doesn't get a surround here, if the Liberators get sieged up in a choke, then maybe the lacking Tempest could be his downfall. He just got a surround. The DTs came in, pushed away the bio. The Liberators couldn't say anything about it. And MilkiCow, he takes a step out of the box and he gets punched. And he says, never again. I'm just going to stay at home. Never going to move out.
That's 7 DTs on the map. Like, if Fear Dragon didn't have a favorite player before this game, I'm sure he does now, because that is so many frickin' DTs. In fact, this is like the army that all Terrans don't want to play against. DTs, Disruptors, Stalkers, and a big blink from both sides. The blink flank, and MilkiCow's supply is absolutely vanishing, and GG, just like that. MaxPax takes a long-fought game 1.
It really hurts to watch the Terran tap out after like 15 DTs blink on top of a bio army. That just, that hurt, all right? That was a tough game for MilkiCow. I think mentally as well. You think you're in a good position. You're actually feeling kind of confident. You get to, what is supposedly the ultimate late game composition. And then you just feel like you slowly get outplayed, and then DTs just to like put the cherry on top of your defeat. Doesn't feel good. I don't know if MilkiCow's going to be able to shake that one off.
One of the saddest moments for me as a Terran was when Protosses found out that DTs, if they do blink on you, deal insane freaking damage. It wasn't just like a, cool, calm, and sleek, like blinking away. It was blinking on you, because, yeah, even though Bio in a straight-up fight without them having blink just wins if you scan and stuff in EMP, them being on you, like, they one-shot most of your Bio. Like, all the Marines dead instantly. That's potentially 17 DTs, 17 Marines dying in the blink of an eye. Yeah, it's just insane. But I love giving credit to players even when they lose, when they play well, because MilkiCow, for the first half of that game, it was all about him and how well he was handling things. And his build was cool against what MaxPax was doing with the Cloak Banshee. The 4-gate Blink Stalker is something that even the best Terrans will absolutely get slaughtered by it, never mind against somebody like MaxPax doing it. So I love the way that MilkiCow is playing. It's just when you go up against, when you're trying to play for late game, but it's just like, okay, what do you do now? I don't know if you can really give me an answer, because it didn't really feel like it was anything besides he hopes that the Protoss headbutts himself to death, which MaxPax wasn't really ever going to do.
I think that's exactly what he was hoping for. I mean, there was that one pretty bad fight in the middle where you pointed out that it was even worse than it looked because he replaced his army so quickly. It actually was a really big loss. And I think he was probably hoping for another one like that, and then he was going to do it. But I think you're right. I think he was a bit directionless once he got to the Liberator stage. He was hoping that they would MaxPax would either be continuing to defend on his side of the map, or that he would overextend, which didn't ever quite happen enough. So by the time he wanted to throw his hands up in the air and go, whatever, I'm just going to go after you, it was already too late. MaxPax had accrued quite a base count, could replace a lot of the army, and was, using DTs just to add insult to injury. I know it's a good tactic, but I'll never not look at DTs blinking on a buy army and be like, yeah, that's fair. That's exactly what I wanted DTs to do.
Oh, yeah, I know the feeling. Anyhow, getting in on to game 2. That was our longest game of the day, by the way, right? Anyhow, spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, playing for Team X on it is MaxPax.
In the top right, as the blue Terran, he is MilkiCow.
And I know a lot of people are probably looking at this being like, yeah, this will be super one-sided, right? And maybe the end result was pretty lopsided, but I think if there's anything people can take away from this is just don't let results and just seeing results deceive you, because MilkiCow played equally as good against Showtime, and these are really sick, high-level Protoss players that play very, very different, that make you so uncomfortable. But he's actually going toe-to-toe with them in a way that Terrans don't normally play. If there was anything that could be added to MilkiCow's play, it would maybe be some sort of kill switch, where he tries to gear 4, 5, 6 Liberators with a drop, or something into the main. If he can just get some kind of killing move going as well, he'd actually be a very, very scary Terran to go up against.
Well, I don't want to blame it entirely on speed, but it does feel like if you compare that game with a Clem game, that looked kind of, like that if Clem were to go into Liberators pretty quickly after controlling the game. It would have felt, I'm seeing in my head right now, Clem doing the drops, yeah, maybe they get taken down, but then his Liberators are already sieging that fort. He doesn't actually wait for 8 of them. He just is like, I got 4, the upgrades are on the way, let's just continue pressuring. Whereas MilkiCow, kind of it all happened at once. His drops were starting to get denied. His bio wasn't reinforcing, and his Liberator count wasn't quite confident enough in the push. So it feels like that pacing game was really good for MilkiCow up until the Liberators. It calmed them down, it slowed them down, and that's when MaxPax could actually take advantage. Maybe if he hadn't gone for Liberators, could have been different, but then Liberators are so good, so I can't blame him.
I think that's when it comes down to choice, though. This is... Because MilkiCow, he was playing the first parts of the game very quick. You saw that he was sniping units, single target firing, while doing multiple things at once. His pulls as well, the SCV pulls for the Blink DTs, he was pulling before the DTs even got a hit off, very, very quick. It's just, yeah, for whatever reason, the kid's a masochist, man. He loves pain. Going to the late game with Protoss, I don't know any Terran that is yeah, I love doing that, man. I love doing that. But this youngster, 18 years old, he shows no fear at doing it, willing to do it as well. And yeah, tip of my hat to that young man there, because I hate it personally.
It doesn't feel good. Again, especially when the Protoss gets to all the DTs and starts to really control you. You feel like you're just constantly responding and not being able to play your game. And only the most patient of Terrans can really continue that and be okay, which... MilkiCow was doing an okay job. He just kept slipping through his fingers ever so slightly until he just threw his hands up in the air and it didn't work. So once again, going to try and do some early game damage, get ahead, and then hope to carry the momentum into the bio stage. That's great. A couple Hellions. The MaxPax, well, he's going for a Dark Shrine. Not really surprised by this. MilkiCow, are you going to actually have those scans prepared? I would hope so. He's not going to be able to scout the Dark Shrine itself.
No, but the big thing is, this is a follow-up, 4 Widowmine drop with this. And the fact that MaxPax wasn't super shameless, there was only 1 Marine in that bunker. If he had a couple of depths across the map, or even 1, it would have actually been very annoying to deal with. That being said, yes, DTs, that Warp Prism is pretty darn fast, and he's going for the most direct route across the base. all across the map. This game's going to get very spicy very quickly. But there is no engineering bay. We have to check on whether the mule's going to be used constantly. You does see the Dark Shrine now, which is pretty nice for scouting too.
Oh, he was already saving a scan, actually. I'd actually say this is sooner than you would expect to save your scan. You usually save, like, the next one. But by having a scan already in the main, then just waiting out the natural as well. He's got 2 scans, almost 3, honestly. I think he did have this in his mind that MaxPax can hit extremely fast DT timing. DT is going to find some SCVs, and the Woodamines find some probes. Okay. Oh, the DT and the natural is doing a lot.
Yeah, the 2 scans for that single DT as well was very gnarly. He will have a Raven out soon, which is cool. And what's happened to the Woodamines? There's 2 still alive. He's going for... In fact, holy crap. Okay, he's picked up the Hellions as well. That's kind of cool. I mean, that won't stay alive, but it's just distractions, right? 2 Hellions in the main now.
I mean, while the Hellions were being microed, the DTs were actually going a bit ham there. They just keep coming on in with the Warp Prism. Cyclone Lockout doesn't get it. The probes are starting to line up a little bit. We're actually having some trades of workers now. The Hellions coming in strong to make up for all the damage the DTs did.
This is actually... These two, they like this game. We're only 5 minutes in, but how many workers have actually been killed? 20 for MilkiCow, 15 for MaxPax. It actually turns out that MaxPax came out of this slightly worse, actually, and MilkiCow feeling so confident that he's just going to slam open a 3rd base.
Well, usually with the DT stuff, you're not really going to have a kill move. You get harassing done, you force out the scans, but you don't get to actually, cut the head off. So a 3rd CC, I definitely don't mind. If this was like a follow-up 2-base charge, well, I guess that would be different, but it's not. So Archon dropped for more harassment. Good save in the Cyclone for now. And Auto Turret comes in to protect as well. But yeah, just more harassment, which MilkiCow is dealing with about as well as possible. Oh, no, the tank. Oh, geez, the Raven.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that was 2 turrets used, and oh my gosh, he's actually getting a drop going. I am loving MilkiCow's play, okay? I don't know whether he's going to come out of this series with a map win or anything, but this game, he is managing to make MaxPax feel uncomfortable. And, every time I look at something that MilkiCow's doing, I just like it, Zombie Grub.
Well, this especially, it's going super well. Viking even trying to get on top of the Warp Prism. Actually, he's going to die. And the Raven, I guess, still hasn't been repaired or took more damage. But, MilkiCow just got 11 probes while dealing with that. So... yeah, MilkiCow's doing really well. He's looking for his first map win in the group, and this could very well be it. But, we're kind of saying that last game, too. I think one thing has been proven by MilkiCow's performance this past week is that he'll get into good positions and then not quite close them out.
Yeah, like that kill switch is definitely something that needs to add. And MaxPax is... he has that kill switch in every matchup, in every sort of scenario as well. And 2 Archons with this Warp Prism and the ability to blink in here. I'm actually really scared for MilkiCow because this is the kind of fight that it doesn't look pretty once it gets going. And 1 tank immediately sniped off.
Yeah,
those
really scary.
Archons. Yeah, nice juggling with the Archons. The Raven goes down as well. This is an SCV Hug of Doom, which actually isn't that doomy. And MaxPax just wins again.